Hey guys, here today with Dance Tonight Chattanooga. I'm Emily, and one of the biggest questions that I hear come out very, very often is how to do the splits. To be perfectly honest with you, some of that actually does come from genetics. Some people just naturally tend to be a little bit more flexible than others, but the good news is that we can work what we have naturally into a lot more. There are a couple different areas that we're going to focus on today. The first one is going to be forward folds because hamstring flexibility is a really big chunk of what goes into the splits. Okay? So to start with, I'm going to start with my feet completely together, toes together, heels together, and I want to make sure that I'm starting this with really good posture. So I'm actually going to turn sideways so you can watch me do this. We want to make sure that as we start this forward fold, that we aren't doing this. I really want to make sure that I'm keeping my lower back nice and straight so that I'm really bending from the hips, getting a stretch through my hamstrings, not doing this and stretching through my back only. Alright? So if I start from the very top, I'm just going to naturally just kind of fold forward. You want to keep breathing as you do this. It's really easy to hold your breath. What happens there is that when our breath holds, oxygen isn't getting to those muscles. So they aren't actually able to stretch. You really want to take nice, deep breaths. So what we're going to do, the way that I like to start is starting with my feet together. I just fold forward, and I actually hold my toes, and I pull myself forward a little bit. Not a lot, you don't want to tear anything. So if you're a little bit less flexible, and you just get to here and you need to hold for a while, that's okay. We're only trying to get to where you feel a stretch. Alright, and then as you do this, as you breathe, you should start to feel those muscles relax. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to open those feet up a little bit wider here. Alright, so as you can see, my feet are about hip width or just a little bit further apart. We're going to do exactly the same thing. This time though, even if you can't naturally get all the way to the floor and touch it, go ahead and grab those toes, even if your knees are bent. Then try to relax your back as much as you can, and then just work into straightening those legs until you're here, okay? Again, we really want to keep that lower back nice and straight as possible so that we're not stretching our backs out, we are actually stretching our hamstrings out. So when I'm in these positions, I tend to hold for anywhere from 5 to 10 breaths, all right? Also, make sure that you're not doing this cold, all right? So if you are waking up first thing in the morning, you're like, I'm going to do the splits, you're probably not going to have phenomenal luck with it, all right? Our bodies tend to be tight, they tend to be tense in the mornings when we wake up, so get moving a little bit. If you're going to work out, maybe go for a walk or something like that, and then when you get back, work into these once you've got some blood flowing, all right? So from here, we're actually going to go down to the floor. All right, so we've been doing things from a standing position. Again, I like to use different levels as I'm stretching because it does keep blood flowing. Instead of just sitting down on the floor right away, it tends to kind of let blood pool. So from here, I like to turn my feet out a little bit, nice wide stance here, and I like to just plie down, okay? So I'm just bending my knees, I'm just gonna hang out here, not really forcing anything. All that I'm doing is stretching my inner thighs, all right? So I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see here. You wanna make sure that in this position, right now, I'm really trying to push my knees back so that my inner thighs get a nice stretch. One thing you do wanna make sure of as you're doing this is that we don't have knees that are forward, okay? So just make sure that your knees right over those toes, so even if you're right here, and this is your stance, that's perfectly fine, okay? Just make sure your knees are over your toes, stretching those inner thighs. Here, once you're comfortable with this, go ahead and come on down so that your elbows are on your knees. And we're gonna relax a little bit more, it's a little bit deeper stretch. All right, I'm gonna come around and face the camera here. So make sure that as you're doing this, again, we wanna make sure that our knees are right over our toes, and then we're just gonna kind of shift side to side. We're warming up those inner thighs a little bit, getting those nice and stretched. We don't typically think about them having to do with our splits, but they actually do. All right, so next section, we're gonna come down onto our knees. So if you need a towel or a little pillow to put under those knees so they don't get sore, go ahead and grab that now. So We're down on the floor, ready to work our way into our actual splits. There are a couple different ways to do this. One is that you can, this is my favorite way personally, I'm on both my knees, I'm bringing one of my legs out in front of me. The key to this and getting a really pretty split is that you want to work into it with both of your knees straight. And this is really hard to do because we don't usually have enough flexibility to get one leg completely straight and the other at the same time and split. That's the whole point, right? So from here, we're gonna stretch one leg out in front of us. See if you can just start working your way down so that both of your hands are on the floor. This might be a stretch in and of itself, okay? But from here, we wanna start working that back leg straight, okay? So that we're here, all right? So if it takes you a while, you need to hang out here, do it, that's fine. From there, you wanna start working your way down, lower and lower into a split until you can comfortably relax into one, all right? In another video, we're going to talk about some hip flexibility. You might find that even though technically you're in a split, you can't really bring your back up, and that's usually has to do with this flexibility here in your hip, or maybe some upper back strength, all right? So we're going to get into that into a different video. But today, hopefully, that gives you a few videos. You can start working your way into those splits. Like us, if you do any of these stretches and you want to show off your newfound flexibility, please tag us in a video. We would love to see